Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Dissect. I go by the name of Novelist,
And I go by the name of Jewel.
and of course, tonight we have another exciting episode for you guys. Um, we're doing something different tonight. We're going away from
Mhm.
music tonight. That should be interesting. With no further ado, let's bring everybody onto the screen, ladies and gentlemen. We got some of the U.S. veterans and current Army soldiers in the house with us tonight on Dissect. Let's bring them all to the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Miss Toussaint. Welcome, Mr. Casimir. Welcome, Mr. Alexander. Good
Welcome.
evening, lady and
Evening.
gentlemen.
Hey,
Evening.
What's going on? How's everybody doing?
Good.
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 Good, good.
All
You
right.
guys, you guys sound like you guys good. You guys nervous? What's it?
No man, yeah.
All right,
Just
all
excited,
right.
you
So,
know, little excitement.
all right.
Yeah, we're,
So
we're
let's get
excited to
everybody.
have you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, so let's
So,
get everybody to introduce themselves. I guess
Yeah.
Mr. Casimir will start with you.
all right, well, good evening to all the fans and all the listeners. I am Staff Sergeant Michael Kazimi, currently stationed at Fort Eustis, Virginia. I've been in the military for about just over 9 years. And, I'm here with my family right now. I'm an 88 Mike by trade. That's a truck driver, motor transportation operator. And yeah, just saying good evening, and it's going to be a great show. Like I said in my promo, it's going to be great.
Nice,
Nice.
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 Miss Toussaint.
Good evening. I am Ramona Toussaint. I am originally from Bronx, New York, but my parents are Dominican and Martinican. And I served 7.5 years in the Army, stationed the whole time in Killeen in Fort Hood, Texas. And I'm a former Army captain, and I was a 65 Delta, which is a physician assistant. Happy to
Nice.
be here.
Nice. Nice.
And of course, Mr. Alexander.
You're
Oh,
on
your
mute,
mic is
sir.
muted. Your mic is muted.
It's all right.
Good evening. I'm Kurt Alexander. I was born and raised in Dominica, coming out of Marigot. My family on my father's side is from Roseau area, Fonkole. Um, knew Michael Casimir since he was a baby, even before when he was in his mom's stomach. Uh, I served 20 years in the U.S. Army as an engineer doing construction. Started off as an interior electrician, and as I progressed through the ranks, I became a construction supervisor. Retired back in 2013, and have been working at NASA ever since. Well,
Oh,
yeah.
exciting.
Nice.
I
We're sitting in
mean,
good company, and we're safe tonight.
yes. We have NASA, we have a truck driver, we got
Yeah.
physicians, assistants here,
Ain't nobody messing with
all
us
in
tonight
one.
on Dissect, boy. So,
Yeah, Dominicans do great things all over the world.
All right.
was that?
Dominicans do great things all over the world.
Amen.
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Amen.
So, I guess let's start with you. Can I call you guys all by your first names? Like
Sure.
Of
sure.
course.
Good question.
Make it more more comfortable and more right. All
Instead
right.
of
Um,
So Kurt,
sergeant
let's
and corporal and
right.
Yeah.
So Kurt, let's start with you. You moved from Dominica to the States when?
I came to the States back in '92. Moved to the Bronx. Uh,
Right.
so I heard Ramona said she was from the Bronx. We stayed over
South
there.
Bronx.
Yeah,
Okay, so
we
you guys are
stayed by the
neighbors.
Bronx Zoo, over by the
Right.
Bronx Park area. Joined the Army. Probably spent a year in New York, and after that, I joined the Army.
Okay. So
okay.
what made that decision? Was that something you always wanted to do, or
My like my father was in, and a couple of uncles. Like I had an uncle that was in before Vietnam era. He was the
Right.
first one to come to America, but he was
Okay.
in so early before the Vietnam era that when it was time for the Vietnam to kick off, he was getting out. He was ETS, and they were trying to entice him to re-enlist, but he was like, I already did my time. So
Right.
Man.
he came, he got out, and he was the one that pretty much sent for all of us on on my father's side, and then my father sent for us. But he was trying to get us up earlier, but I wanted to stay in Dominica and graduate high school there.
Hmm.
So like growing up in Dominica was a great experience. You know, I'm glad that I did that. And
Right.
Michael's uncle Jerry Walsh is one of my best friends growing up. So we moved over here '92. The next year, you know, I just followed in the. It was kind of like part of the family trade, so I
Mhm.
just followed in their footsteps, and then it was an easy route to independence. You know, getting on your own 2 feet.
Good story.
Nice. So nice. So I guess Michael, let's ask you the same question. I guess, um, what year did you join the army? Well, first of all, you were born in Dominica, like you said, right?
Yeah.
And so what year did you move to the states and join the U.S. Army?
All right. So I joined in 2012, October 2012. That's when I shipped out to basic training. But I'm from Lower Goodwill, Libla Lane originally, and slash Pottersville, Potter Street. Where I lived with my family all my life. Then my dad migrated to New York a long time ago. So I used to go, back and forth during the summertime. Come up to New York. Then my mom is in St. Croix, Silka Walsh, and between St. Croix, New York, and so forth until I moved permanently in 2012. So back in Dominica, I live with my aunt and Josephine, my uncle Jerry, Joseph, Emmanuel Walsh, and so forth in Pottersville. So we had a nice family home. I worked. I used to work at Sat Telecoms as a cameraman in the media department. Then
Mhm.
I was just living life, and I was good.
Right.
To be honest, I
Right.
did at first I did not want to move up.
Mhm.
Life was great. Yeah, life was great. Life was great. But anyway, my mom was like, hey, come on, man, time to be a man. You got to stand on your own. So, hey, shout out to my mom one time. She's watching, man.
Right.
So,
Right.
moved to St. Croix, Frederickstead. But if you know St. Croix, the Virgin Islands is kind of slow. So, I wasn't really feeling it. So, I moved up to
Mhm.
New York in Queens with my dad. Then, from being like an independent person, making your own money, doing your own stuff, then just being under somebody's, like,
Mhm.
under my dad's roof, so under his rules and his regulations is not a problem. But I just had to be a man and do something on my own. So I actually walked into the recruiting station. So I voluntarily walked into the recruiting station, like, hey man, hey, sign me up. Time to
Mhm.
do something with my life, and that's how I joined.
Wow.
Yeah.
You walked in from New York, you
So
said?
yeah, in New York, yeah,
Yeah.
Jamaica Queens, right on the avenue.
Yeah, I think that's how most people from the New York area get, recruited. They don't really go after New Yorkers.
Yeah,
So you're pretty much gonna be a walk-in. So that means you want to be there, you know?
exactly. That is something I always wanted to do. So I was like, but the decision is like, should I go reserve or should I go active duty? And my dad, he was 100% supportive. He's like, hey man, don't do anything halfway, just do it full. Go
Mhm.
active duty. Try it out for 3 years. If you don't like it, just come out. You always got a home. And 9 years later, I'm still there. I'm still there.
I have a question to
Nice.
ask. You made a good point just now about New York doesn't really recruit. You gotta volunteer yourself. And do you have any idea as to why that is,
Well, the
or
idea
your
is
own opinion as to why that is? I
the
should
idea
say.
is I know, like I joined back in the day, back in '93,
Yeah.
and The problem was most New Yorkers kind of like they had a record,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mhm.
So it's not like in the South where you got them kids just coming right out of high school, big corn-fed kids. You know,
Right.
you have to do more filtering in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pain to go around trying to recruit people, and some people just don't want to, join. So
Mm-hmm.
whereas you go somewhere in the South, it's more heavily recruited in the South because it's easier to get soldiers or get recruits down there. In New York, you have to go through a whole bunch of rigmarole, to check, make sure this guy don't have a record, make sure
Yeah.
this and that,
Yeah.
is legit. So that was
Okay.
one of the major things. And that's coming from recruiters or guys that later on were recruiters that was my peers.
Um,
Can I make a
thanks for
statement?
clarifying. Go ahead,
I just
217.
want to tap on what you're saying. So it was different for me in New York. So I graduated high school in '97, and I went to an all-girls Catholic high school, St. Catherine Academy in the Bronx. So in that setting, we actually had recruiters that would come in from all the branches to recruit students, and then we also had graduates, alma maters who would come in to who started ROTC in college to influence the high school students to join.
Yeah.
So it was different for me.
But that sounds, because it's like this is a good, proving ground to to get recruits that don't have any issues.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So they're almost handpicking who they want in the military. Okay,
I
and
wouldn't
that.
say I wouldn't say that they're handpicking.
Yeah.
It's just easier to get somebody in with a clean,
Yeah, it's a
clean
process.
slate. Yeah, clean
Okay.
slate. Because at this point, I know, some kids are coming right off the street and they have to get security clearances and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
Ramona, wow, 97. I was on my first tour. I was
Hey,
I
So you
I got
everybody's
back to the
uncle today.
BTS by then.
I got commissioned in 2002.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had just re-enlisted
so,
again.
so Ramona, what made you want to join the military?
Yeah.
So I was highly influenced by my late father, Raymond Toussaint. He was born in Martinique, but his side of the family is all from La Plaine. Um, and he when he came to the States, he he was drafted, unfortunately. So it's crazy. So you immigrate, right, for a better life,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just okay, you're drafted, you have to join the military. So he went, and then he did serve during the Vietnam War. He was injured. He had a knee injury, and he was a very proud man. So in college I had a graduate who came, and she told me about Morgan State, because I went to Morgan State University after I graduated high school in
Right.
Baltimore, Maryland, and she told me what the ROTC, the Army ROTC program, did for her. And ROTC is a Reserve Officers Training Corps, where they train you in college. Once you graduate college, you serve your obligation, so you can get a scholarship to help pay for college, and then
Mm-hmm.
your obligation is to serve afterward. Um, so I joined in my sophomore year. I didn't join right away, so I had to play catch up. Um, and yeah, he definitely inspired me. He passed away in 2015. He saw me through 2 tours to Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm proud of myself for carrying on and fulfilling that legacy. So
Thank you. Thanks
Nice.
for sharing that
So
information.
so
So we have, yeah, go ahead.
so you guys mentioned tours. I want to ask all three of you guys the same question. I guess let's start with Michael. What's like your first tour? What was that like? Like, you leave training and all that stuff. Now you on a plane to whatever destination you went first?
Hey, to be honest, man, it's just Korea, man. I was just been in Korea,
Right.
so when I went to Korea, it's just a year, just a year tour or whatever. But it's not a combat deployment like Kurt and his two got. Um, it's unaccompanied, so I went by myself. You know, I left my family back in New York. They stayed with my dad, so that's my wife, Tamisha, and at the time we only had Jainik, my daughter, and Jaik. So you know, my parents held it down for me tremendously. I'm telling you,
Mhm.
from my mom to my dad, they took care of the household. You know, so it was pretty easier for me. It's always good having
Family.
family. Listen, man, listen. Your
Yeah.
family is very important. You got to take care of your family. Like, swear, my wife
Facts.
Tamisha
Mhm.
took care of everything. All I had to do is like focus on my work because
Mhm.
everything back home is was taken care of, from the bills to taking care of the kids. And
Yeah.
my dad held it down, brother. I swear to God, my dad and my mom played a vital role. So you see all that support system I got. That is
Mhm.
what you need when you serve. You need that support system because we
Mhm.
cannot make
Right.
it on our own. Plus, my
Yeah.
friends, I'm telling you, I had close friends that was checking up on my family for me, like calling them
Mhm.
up, like, "Hey, you good?" Because Michael is gone and so forth. Hey, you good? And this and that.
Mhm.
So they did that for me, brother. So I appreciate. I'm just giving everybody the flowers. I
Okay.
appreciate.
Right.
I appreciate
So
that for real.
so that made everything easier for you.
Right? Smooth, smooth sailing, smooth sailing.
Mhm. From a female perspective, I'm talking to Miss Toussaint. It's a little bit different from a male leaving and a female leaving. What was it like for you going off to your first tour?
So it was extremely scary,
Mhm.
extremely scary. I was 25. I had just graduated from PA school, physician assistant school. And first, I went to San Antonio for training for 3 months. And then they're like, "You're going to Iraq." I was like, "Okay, I have like no combat experience, not even experience as a medical provider. I just graduated, right?" So,
Mhm.
um, so I met my unit was there for a month already, and I met up with my unit, and it was tough because as I look past the progression of rank, so they say with rank you get respect,
Mhm.
but it was a triple whammy, right? So started out as a second lieutenant, a low rank, black female, number two,
Mhm.
number three, number two being black, and number three being a female. And then I'm 5'1". So, and then as you can see, I'm soft spoken. So I really had to learn to project my voice and make my presence known,
Right.
um, and really to kind of prove myself. I
Mhm.
always had those moments where I had quite a few moments actually where I really had to stand up. And it wasn't until I became a captain was when people started listening to me. I'm like, oh, I got railroad tracks on now. Everybody want to salute me. Everybody want to talk to me and listen to me.
Mhm.
But that was when I finally was able to implement projects and things I wanted to do to improve things for the soldiers as patients and, in their functionality and being ready for their mission. That's when I really had a voice, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But at times, I feel like I was still not really heard as much as my other peers.
Right.
Mhm. Quote unquote. I read the eyes.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we can all relate. I think we can all relate in that as to that
Mhm.
aspect.
Right.
You really have to speak up and be forceful to be heard. As
Mhm.
a
Right.
minority soldier.
So Kurt, what was your experience like your first tour?
Well, my first deployment, I came in during the time when it was a little less combat going on, right after it was just right after the Gulf War and Somalia. When I got to my first duty station in Fort Eustis, Virginia, Somalia had just my platoon had just returned from Somalia, and
Mm-hmm.
then I would say about a few months later we were slated to go to Haiti, and I don't know, I was one of the most enthusiastic kids. I wasn't nervous about it. Just suited up, went training. We did a lot of work preparing ourselves to get out the door for the deployment because our unit was not ready at all. And so we spent a lot of time training and preparing, getting our gear together. Got down there, and it was an invasion that turned into an intervention that eventually turned into a humanitarian mission. And it was funny because they thought there's like, all right, this guy's Dominican, and they had an issue where they needed somebody to translate. And I'm from Marigot, so we don't know how to speak Quail. So the guy goes and he gets me, and I'm like, yo, I don't know how to speak that, but I could understand because my grandma, their side speak it on my father's side, and she was trying to teach me, so I could understand. But the guy was like, "So you mean to tell me he's from Dominica and he can't speak
Mm-hmm.
Creole?" But he said it in French, but I got
Mm-hmm.
what he said. But it was a good experience for us. I also at that point I met another Dominican. His name was Patrickson Toussaint, and he was at that point. I was a private. I was a private first class, and he was a
Mhm.
specialist. And that guy, he was an awesome guy. He was a great guy to meet. He was a mentor to me later on in my career. He was my leader for a while. He's still active duty
Right.
right now as a sergeant major, so it's pretty high ranking. Probably somebody you guys should get on on this interview because he's very like he's got a lot of stories. But
Right.
it was good to see Haiti, to help the people out, and the portrayal of Haiti in the media is so different, like compared to going to Haiti. Like
Right.
the city is pretty, like the city looks really poor, but when you go in the outskirts, there's rich people, there's, is people living comfortable. It's just not really a median. Is either you extremely poor, you're extremely rich. But
Mm-hmm.
it was a good experience as my first tour, kind of easing me into, the future deployments to come. Um,
Right.
Okay. Great
Interesting.
stories. I'm just taking it in, loving the stories.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
that you don't
So
you see what's being depicted in movies a lot, and you don't really understand it until you hear it from like the source, straight from the source. So we appreciate
that
you and your
I
answers.
tell
Yeah.
I tell
that is
everyone
interesting.
that it's exactly like the movies and then some. A lot
Mhm.
of people think it's a
yeah.
It's
joke. It's not
it's
a joke.
exactly like the movies and then some.
It is not
it's
a joke,
yeah,
okay?
yeah, but
Um,
they leave out some of the crazy stuff too. Like they definitely do.
Oh,
I
Um,
mean,
some of the
yeah.
fun
we
stuff.
can agree to disagree because Black Hawk Down, a lot of those, and even we're not supposed to watch that stuff, but I still watch it. And then you're yelling at the screen like, "No, you got to do
Yeah,
that."
yeah, definitely. You're gonna direct the movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
you're gonna
The
direct the
most
movie.
iconic moment for me was walking down the flight line. Do y'all remember that moment? And
Mm.
you're like, "Oh, ish, I'm about to go to war. I'm 5'1" with a big old rucksack
Yeah,
and my
yeah,
Yeah.
handbag, and I have a gun. I'm
yeah.
going on a plane with a gun
Yeah, that's the
with
best
ammo, and I'm
feeling.
I
like,
think my first
what?
experience for going to Iraq, it was I was supposed to get reassigned to Germany after I was stationed in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and I hadn't deployed yet, and because I was an instructor at the time, and I get there and they reroute me to another unit, to a combat unit, and I'm not combat. So I get there and I'm like, I'm arguing with them because at this point I'm a staff sergeant, so I got a little pull. I'm arguing with them, but they won't release me. They're like, we need you to come with us. So I don't know. Like I was scared in the beginning, like nervous because this is real stuff now.
Yeah.
But then once I got that out of my mind, you know, I never had that fear while I was deployed. Because I had to leave, so I couldn't. I had to man up. I couldn't portray fear.
Of course.
When you're in leadership, you can't be falling apart.
Definitely
Not. Because somebody's looking to you to move forward. To lead. So it definitely gives you courage.
Yeah, when we landed in Iraq, because I was the only officer, they told me I was in charge.
Yep.
And I did not know what was going on, and we couldn't fly in. We had to do it. We had to go in a Humvee in the zone to my camp at Camp Falcon.
So you fake it till you make it, kind of thing.
Yes. And in my head the whole time, I'm looking out the Humvee with my gun. I'm like, what the?
So you said you went in 03 or 05?
I went 05 to 06 to Camp Falcon.
Oh, so you didn't get to go to Bolik 2?
To where? No, I missed that.
Because
what's Bolik 2? What's
basic officer leader course. I was an instructor there, and that's where when a lieutenant came from his commission, his or her commissioning source, you went there to get combat tactical leadership training. So we were training these officers to lead their platoons in a combat environment, and that was all we did was combat training. And
I did everything else, but not that, because I think it was the requirement was like literally the year after me.
Oh, gotcha.
I got out.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Because the class started in 06. They were doing the pilot in 05. Yeah. You're right. So you went during the surge. That was the rough part. Did you do 15 months?
Did I do what?
Well, that's
you guys got all these codes going on here.
Right? I'm like,
all these codes going on here. Like,
sorry, acronyms. We got to spell them out.
Well,
the
surge was during like I would say it was 05 to 08. George Bush enacted the surge where they were putting more people. They were increasing the manpower in Iraq because the insurgency was getting heavy there, and also they were extending your tour, so it went from 12 months to 15 months.
Yeah, I was there when they were still looking. I think they had just got Saddam, or he was in court or something like that around that time. Yeah.
Had to be. I can't remember. I know at that time I was just training, getting ready to get our first batch of students.
So Ramona, what's that? You have a question for us?
For my two comrades here.
Oh, go ahead.
But you can go ahead.
What was the question?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just curious because I just don't want to forget to ask. Did any of you experience any racism?
Thanks for asking that, because I was going to ask a similar question.
It's been on my brain. I'm like, because I like to know other experiences.
It wasn't overt, but I did get into a fight with a guy in basic training because he had never seen a black person before, and I was taunting him. I was like, "You want to touch me?" And we kind of got into an altercation because of that. But that guy, at the end, he didn't really. I wouldn't say he was racist, but he's just never seen a black person before. But at the end, he he realized we're all just humans, because what happened to him at the end, we had Christmas exodus for basic training. So during Christmas, if your basic training is going to run through Christmas, you get a break to go home to your family. And the guy couldn't go home because I guess he left home on bad terms. So my bunkmate, my battle buddy, which was also black, he was from Florida, and he told him, because the drill sergeant was like, everybody was going home except that guy, and the drill sergeant was like, I'm not staying here for one guy, right? So somebody's gonna take him home with
Oh, wow.
with them, right? So
Right.
the drill sergeant said, don't everybody speak up at one time, and my battle buddy said, I'll take him home. The guy was from Montana. He ended up in Florida with my battle buddy. And when he came back and was like, how was it? And he was like, man, it was a great experience. Cool family. They welcomed me, treated me like their own. And he was a different guy when he got back.
Right.
That's
Now,
amazing.
the other side, when I went to active duty, my permanent party units, I wouldn't say racism was overt, but it was there. Yeah, it was like,
Right.
it was kind of systemic, and it was also covert. But if you were smart enough, you could always catch it. And it was, and that's when they started, like, they didn't, when I joined the army, they didn't have equal opportunity and all that stuff, you guys.
Really?
Probably,
They didn't have EO?
like they had something similar, but it wasn't as strong as it was by the time I was halfway through my career. So you really didn't have an outlet to deal with stuff other than IG, the inspector general, and a lot of people didn't like to go that route, because then you like snitching or whatever. But whenever you encountered something, you had to nip it in the butt. But a lot of I would say a lot of soldiers, the Caucasian persuasion, they played nice, but some of them pretty different when you retire or get out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's an interesting question though, because like you both are retired, and Michael, you're still active, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
So
still active.
yeah, so yeah, how you
So
because
answer that question?
yeah,
you
so
see it,
from my perspective, I personally never experienced racism, but there's a lot going on out there. So that's why the army has invested so much in an equal opportunity program, where you kind of discriminate someone by their sex, their race, their culture, and so
Right.
forth. That's why these programs have to be taught ever so often, because it's still happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, because it's still happening. I mean, we shouldn't be discriminating against each other, because we're all there for the same cause, right?
Yeah.
True.
For the same cause. But it's happening. It's like you may be passed up on promotion or going to the promotion board because you're black or because you're white, according to who is your leadership. So if
Right.
you have like a Hispanic leadership, that Hispanic will look out for his Hispanic soldiers.
For these
Or
people,
white
right?
leadership, they look out for their white soldiers. Or black leadership, they
Right.
look out for all the brothers and the sisters. But it should
Right.
not be like that. But it's happening. It's
well,
happening still.
I would say, like I said, so I go back to the covert racism, right? So I was stationed in Alaska, and my supervisor, like, you could just tell the guy was, like, you could tell,
Right.
and he had this thing, like, so I became a squad leader there, and all of a sudden I have all the black soldiers in my squad.
Mm.
And I'm like, why do I have all the black soldiers in my squad? I got 14 soldiers, and the majority of them are black, and I got like one white female, like two white males, a Hawaiian, a Samoan, and a Filipino, and everybody else is black. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so I'm trying to go to my supervisor, you know, and say, well, we need to be a little more diverse amongst the whole platoon,
Mhm.
but I'm trying not to make it seem like try to pull the race card. But at
Mhm.
the same time, my squad was top heavy, meaning I had most of the senior low enlisted soldiers. They were mostly specialists, E4s.
Right.
So so I went with that route. I said, okay, man, I got too many E4s. So
Too
let's
many
split it
brothers.
up, move
Yeah.
some around because a lot of these guys were about to make sergeant. And
Mhm.
so that's how I got them to be a little more diverse. But you had to look at it a different way so nobody think you're pulling the race card. But
Right.
really, it was there. Because the way I felt like it was every time a soldier came in and he was black, he would just say, oh, send him to our first squad. He could deal with them.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it
There's a
was
number
cool.
that goes. There's a number
Yeah,
at the
it was.
bottom of the screen for the viewers. If you guys want to send any voice notes to our guest tonight, the number is right there
Yeah.
now. So definitely send your voice notes to that, and we could also play it before we get off, and they could answer your questions if you have any. All right. So Ramona, let's
Yes.
send that question right back to you now. The question that you just asked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, quite a few different questions have been popping up too.
Yeah.
Oh
I'll
Yeah.
yeah,
get
oh
to that.
yeah.
Answer that question,
Okay.
then we'll get to that.
Send them to the
Okay.
voice.
I feel bad. I'm like, no. So I didn't really receive. Okay, so I received more sexism
Okay.
than racism.
Okay.
In terms of racism, what Mike said about having to stick together, literally, wherever you go, you just create a clique. I don't know what it is about our people. Wherever I went, there was a clique. As soon as I got there, my battle buddy was the platoon leader, and she was mixed, but hey, one drop of black, right?
Mhm.
So and she was really cool. I'm telling you, and I think what I was lucky. I'm not okay. My mother always taught me, don't say lucky, say blessed. I was blessed.
Right.
So my command was all black. My commander was black. My first sergeant was black. My battalion commander was black. The XO was black, and they were all like in frat, and they were all cool, and it was dope. It was dope. Like they looked out for us. So I will say I was blessed in that sense. And then throughout the course of my Army career as a PA, when you go to different trainings, you make friends with other PAs. And then it was just another blessing. My first and second tour, we all took a Black Hawk to Taji, to a conference that they had for PAs every year when you're deployed. It was so dope. So I definitely was blessed. In terms of sexism, um, my second tour, okay, so overall, like I said earlier, depending on rank, you get more respect.
Mhm.
But they
Right.
also do listen more to male soldiers, especially male officers versus female officers. I used to see female commanders in certain situations get talked down to, and then I would see male commanders, and they wouldn't stand for that. Of
Mhm.
course, military bearing was there, but
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen female commanders like by themselves, like distraught and thinking nobody could see them in their office.
Mhm.
So during my second tour with sexism, we had EO. So EO was what he had mentioned earlier is equal opportunity. And
Mhm.
that's it
Mhm.
because I was assigned to a command operating base. It was a huge Air Force type base, so it looked like you was in the States and not in Iraq, which was crazy to me. We had fast food restaurants and everything. I was like, are we in Iraq? Like makeshift ones though, but still, like you could have
Yeah.
Cinnabon, you could have Pizza Hut. I'm like, dang, Air Force living good. What? Because the year before, 2 years before, I was at a
None of
little
that.
3 mile radius camp in the middle of the zone, and we would get attacked with missiles and rockets like all the time. So
Mhm.
it was crazy. But Anyway, so they decided to send me on a mission with one female medic to an all male cop. Okay, so what that is a command outpost, and it is in literally in the middle of the zone. At night, they're supposed to not have lights, but they kind of have lights. So imagine you're in a dark room and there's a flashlight standing in the middle of the dark room on the floor. That would be
Damn.
us at Target.
Mm-hmm.
So staying there was difficult because we didn't have all the great amenities that, you know, the larger base had.
Right.
And then they had a group of women from a different unit that were there before. So apparently they were okay with sharing bathrooms, sharing the whole shower bathroom, regular bathroom. And I was like, no. So because I had captain, they started listening. And I got them to put a lock on the bathroom door because I got walked in on like at least 5 times in the shower and the bathroom. So dealt with a lot of that. There's a lot of sexism there, a lot of sexual harassment. I am a sexual trauma survivor, so it's a lot, but you know, it made me a stronger person.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing.
Another thing I saw about that with the sexism part is they always try like feel like, you know, that chauvinistic trait where they're trying to protect you or not, you know, like, all right, we're not gonna let you do this because, you know, it's probably too much for you, or you can't carry the saw because it's too heavy or the too full, or, you know, not giving you that equal chance or opportunity to perform. You know, I didn't allow that in my squads or my platoons. We shared the load, and it was appropriate for your abilities. You know.
Right.
Seems like you have a lot of different experiences from the other two on the panel because Kurt, because you come from almost like a different era.
Yeah.
Going through not age wise only, but experience military wise. Things have changed
Yeah.
and evolved
Yes.
over the years. You probably wouldn't have seen that Cinnabon set up when
Well,
you were around.
no, because I
You know?
kind of I was there for the transition.
Yeah.
You know, I was there when don't ask, don't tell got repealed.
Mhm.
You know, I was there when I was. It was towards the end, but I experienced some of the transition to where
Okay.
the army has improved
Involved.
greatly. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
It's
my
good that you
son.
can speak from both perspectives.
Yes,
That's good to
yeah,
have you here.
it was good.
Um,
It was good because my son he went in to the guard, so I could share my experience with him.
mm.
You know.
Mhm.
Can you share anyone on the panel some positive things about the military? Like if someone had negative connotations about the military, what would you say to combat that? No pun intended.
I think the camaraderie
Yeah.
is great, and even like, you know, we were speaking about, you know, racism and all that stuff.
Hmm.
When we get together to perform to fight the enemy,
Yeah.
you know, the camaraderie is you can't beat that,
Hmm.
and the opportunities that you have when you when you leave the military is also great because for my example, I wouldn't end up at NASA if I wasn't in the military because when they were looking for what they called pathways interns, a pathways internship, which is a pathway to civil service, and
Right.
they needed somebody in the cybersecurity team, and they said you didn't have to have any experience, and you just had to show up. All you had to be was a military vet with, you know, at least 5 point or 10 point veterans preference and a clean background. You know, so they pretty much raised me into the cybersecurity field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we skip a lot of lines.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it.
That-
Yeah,
And I think
it
we
is
deserve
dope.
it.
yeah, I mean, what I was gonna say, like, the benefits, like, you get the military discounts, when you go shopping, you go Foot Locker, whatever, you get that 20% discount.
Mm-hmm.
On top of the discount they already have, you get to travel a lot,
Mm-hmm.
for different training and different classes. And the training also, you actually get college credits, which could go towards your degree.
Okay.
And plus, you get tuition assistance, something they call tuition assistance, which I'm taking advantage of. Like, I'm going to college, so I'm a full-time soldier, a full-time online student, a dad, and all that stuff, all into one. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to college for free, working on my bachelor's. My wife actually just graduated with her bachelor's degree
Nice.
through
Right.
military aid, and she's working on her master's right now. So that's free money
Mm-hmm.
we are getting. So we are taking advantage of all those benefits. And like Kurt said, when you make a friend in the military, you make them for life.
Yes,
Yeah.
I swear to God, these guys will take their shirts off their back for you and
yes,
give it to you
Right.
if you need it. You may know somebody all your life as a child, your childhood friend or whatever, and you
Mm-hmm.
ask them for
Right.
the slightest favor and they will not help you. You could ask
Right.
someone all the way across the world and they'll do what they have to do to help you out through the military.
Mm-hmm.
that
Right.
is
I'm
the
telling you,
truth. That
that
is the
that
truth.
that is true. So these
Yeah,
are
So
the
all
you
bro-
create.
the brotherhood
So you create.
is yeah.
Mhm. So
yeah. So
so I guess the same thing goes with the ladies too, Ramona. You'd say like that
Yeah, I'm
sisterhood.
sorry, guys. I was gonna say the camaraderie, the brotherhood. So we talked about racism, right? But um, everybody bleeds red in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're trained to protect your country. When
Right.
you go to war, you would literally die for your battle buddy or your comrade.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many non-military civilians, even if it's my
Organize.
family or friends, like he was saying, a childhood friend who would say, "Okay, I'll take this bullet for you."
Mm-hmm.
So it's just an interesting bond that we have with our comrades.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I really, believe that Ramona, you were blessed because I probably had that at one unit where most of my leadership was black, and I really took advantage of that for the mentorship and making sure that I was ready when they said, "Hey, you're going to the board," or "Hey, you're going to this school," or something like that, or getting recommended like for drill sergeant schools, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
And because
recommendations.
yeah, because when I got to my last unit, it was the good old boys, and
Mhm.
the thing that saved me at this time, I was already about to be a sergeant first class
Wow.
because they were not giving you any opportunities there. It was really hard, and I really had to bark loud,
Yeah.
and they were surprised when I made sergeant first class. Like they were like, "Well, how'd he get on the list?" Like I was performing before I got here, and and
Right.
and it was really tough. But having some of your own kind in leadership,
Yeah.
but they still have to be, willing to mentor you. But having people of your own kind, and you always pass it down. I never like
Right.
anybody that was in my squad. I never held them back unless they were actually messing up to where that stuff's going on paper. But if you weren't messing up, you were going to the promotion board. You were going to this school, you were going to that. You were going to be a sergeant. You were
Hmm.
going to
Right.
be a staff sergeant. You know, if you needed help to get to the sergeant first class rank, you was going to do that.
So
Yeah.
we have thank you for sharing that. We have some questions coming in, a lot of questions coming in. It's an exciting comment coming in at the bottom here. Navi, do you want to go to the questions or do you want to
Uh,
have some
well,
questions
I
to
was gonna
come in?
ask one more question and go
Yeah.
through there, but
Sure.
All right, let me just ask this one question, then we'll go to
Mhm.
Facebook, and if there's any voice notes, we'll get that done too as
Yeah.
well. So how much work do you guys feel like the military has done or is doing for PTSD?
So I'm a disabled veteran.
Anybody?
I'm a disabled veteran for combat PTSD with military sexual trauma.
Right.
And I I had to fight 10 years to get my disability. It's crazy that you have to prove that you have something. And then
Mhm.
there's some
Right.
people that go and
Mhm.
literally will lie and get, a percentage. I love practicing medicine. I love taking care of my patients. Um,
Right.
and it was very hard to accept what happened to me. But there are so many programs placed um, inpatient therapy. I did both outpatient therapy. There's group therapies. There's programs all over the country. Some where the government will actually pay for veterans to go for a weekend or a few weeks and get that um, intense psychotherapy that they need.
Mhm.
So and it's veterans of all ages. I've been in therapy since 2014 as a disabled
Right.
veteran, and I learned the most from Vietnam vets. I definitely learned the most from them. But yeah, there's a lot of therapy out there. The problem is, and I have a lot of comrades. Literally, all of us have PTSD. I personally think it's inevitable in many soldiers, especially if you deploy. It's like a given, but that's just my
Right.
bias. Um, a lot of soldiers and a lot of veterans have pride, and they don't want to ask for help. They
Mhm.
actually feel bad. I can't tell you the numerous number of comrades that have told me, "Oh, I don't have it as bad as the next veteran,"
Mhm.
but they're like having night terrors and
Mhm.
sleepwalking and sleeping with a gun under their pillow, but they don't think they're bad.
Mhm.
So it's a lot. It's a
Mm.
lot.
When you
Wow.
say they, are you referring to people that you know? And the reason why I'm asking you this, because I know that for our race of people, we oftentimes we're not more accepting of counseling and therapy, and we're always saying, oh, it's the other guy, it's not us, we don't need help. We kind of sweep it under the rug. It's a cultural thing for us as Black people, whether you come from the Caribbean, whether you're American or not. I think it's a Black culture thing. um, would you say that they're of the Black race that are more saying that they don't need the help, that they're not suffering from PTSD?
I, no, because I have comrades of all races, and all that
Mm,
I'm coming across, it's just a plethora of different races, to be
mm,
honest.
Yeah.
But within what you're saying, within the culture, I personally dealt with that. You know, you just grow up, you don't hear about therapy growing up in the
mhm,
household. And
Mm.
then when you do start to hear little bits and pieces, oh, that's no, because you'll be weak if you go to therapy. Or
yeah.
And then, Caribbean, Black people in general are
Mhm,
very proud. And, I guess the older generations don't want that to be put out there, like such and such was in the psych ward, or, just, you know, they tell you crazy now. Like,
Mm.
really? Really? If I could tell you the things that I was told, like,
Right.
come on, like, I
mhm,
had no
Mm.
choice. Like, I didn't choose this. So
yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Caribbean parents are hash.
the things they've told me, though,
That's the real trauma right there. Being from the
girl,
Caribbean,
You know?
We're not going
Growing
to
up
go
with
there.
Caribbean parents, yep.
We're
right?
not, we're not going to go there. They're
I,
watching.
I, no, yeah, parents, the amount of trauma you get from Caribbean parents. I've never been to the military, but I could think it's probably worse.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what you say, novelist, that is true. Got my daughter at the back.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Hey.
that is true, right? Because growing up in the Caribbean, man, you grow up strong. You play sports, you go to school, you're into music, you're into everything. Plus,
Yep.
I joined at a later age. I was like 26, so I was experienced already, So going through basic training, because I know we haven't touched on basic training and what it's like or whatever. But going
That
basic
yeah.
training was actually easier for me because basically basic training they break you down because you're a civilian and you got all your street slangs and your
Mm.
rules and your mentality and your thinking. So they have to break you down and build you up. So break you down as a civilian and build you up into being a soldier. You
Mhm.
understand? Plus, when you have soldiers straight from high school with no life experience, it's kind of traumatizing for them. So
Mhm.
that's where they cry and so forth. But it was easier for me because I'm already disciplined because I'm
Right.
a
Right.
really easygoing kind of a quiet personality. So
Yep.
talking when I don't have to, that stuff was kind of easier for me. But everybody experience is different. You
Mhm.
Right.
understand? So my experience could be different from what Kurt went through. Because
Mhm.
Kurt went back in the days, but it's old school.
But it's interesting you say that because that's a
Yeah.
question I wanted to ask from earlier. Is that well, Ramona? I'll ask it in the sense that being that your background is Dominican, or I'll just say Caribbean to be fair. Do you think that helped you a lot that in your military training? Like the way your parents already raised you, like you said, to be quiet when you know you have to be quiet, because I think we all know when we have to be quiet with West Indian parents, right? So would you say that that helped you guys, or that made everything a little bit
Oh
easier?
yes, big time. Let me tell you, I'm the only girl. Okay. So and my father was prior military, like I told y'all. So I already knew, had that discipline. And I was older as well. I was 25, when I had to start
Right.
active duty. So I would just be looking at these people passing out, doing all these things, acting crazy, doing the worm. Like, come on, you in training, get up, like get it together. You chose
Yeah,
this. Like, what are you doing?
we
You want to be
Yeah.
recycled? Like,
Yeah.
so
So,
yeah, it
yeah.
wasn't it wasn't hard
Kurt,
for me.
I think I
all
laughed
right,
at a
Kurt,
lot
would
of
you say the
people.
same for you?
I'm sorry.
I think in basic training I laughed at a lot of people,
and,
because
and why is that?
they were just so they just I mean, why you there? You're so weak. Like, I mean, this is so easy to me. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It's running up
just
and down this
It's
hill to
mental.
Marigot, man.
yeah, and then the discipline. Oh
Exactly.
yeah, them hills. Yeah. Funkole too.
Hmm.
But the discipline for one. And going to school in Dominica, right? You're already wearing uniforms, you're getting
Hmm.
your butt whooped in primary school, and
Facts.
you could even get, paddled in high school.
Mhm.
You had more respect for authority, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of soldiers, like the first couple weeks, man, they couldn't take all that drill sergeant yelling at them, you know, making them do push-ups and stuff like that. Some people were
Mhm.
trying to rebel,
Mhm.
and drill sergeants was like, at that point, when I came in the army, they were still putting hands on people. I seen a drill sergeant like pretty much choke slam a dude, like
Wow.
threw him down the stairs.
Wow.
I mean, they
Wow.
were really rough, and like she said, like you just needed to know how to just be seen and not heard,
Not heard.
So, I just kept a low profile. My whole basic training pretty much kept a low profile. Anything they told me to do, I did it, to the best of my ability, and moved out the way. But a lot of kids, I mean, you had kids like day one. Like I went in, I was 20 years old. No, 19. 19. I turned 20 in training. And it was funny because I was in AIT, the advanced individual training. I forgot my birthday that day.
Hmm.
Oh wow.
Forgetting
Wow.
Interesting.
slow. But you had some kids
That's
that they did a couple of miles running in the boots, and they had shin splints. They walking in
Hmm.
crutches. Some people blew out their shoulders like after week 3.
Hmm.
It was really bad. I mean, the first 2 weeks you couldn't really like your body was so sore. At the end of the day, you're walking around like an old person. But the next
Mhm.
morning, when they tell you to move, you better move. So you
Mhm.
don't know where you get the energy from. You know, you don't know how the tallness went away
Yeah.
so far, so fast. But you got moving.
Adrenaline.
Because and
It's
then like Ramona said, you didn't want to be recycled. You didn't want to go do this over.
Yeah.
You did not want to be recycled.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard work and determination. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's hard work and determination. Even before you go into basic training, there's like a future soldier program where you actually do training, preparing you to go into basic training. So I'm not gonna lie to you, like even when I walked into the recruiting station, I was overweight. I don't know if any one of you all remember me before. Like nobody should have known me before. I was
yeah,
chubby.
yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah. Yes,
chubby.
sir.
I, I wore glasses. I was overweight. So through hard work and determination, I lost all the weight. I swear to God, I lost all the weight where I could. There's a weight requirement for you to join.
Mhm.
So there's a weight requirement for you to join. And even while you're in, you're supposed to stay at a certain standard,
Mhm.
Right.
or else you could get kicked out.
Yeah.
So lost all the weight and I got fit. So like I said, man, plus I had that I was like I'm a natural born leader because just playing for sports teams and so forth and being involved in different groups, that brings out the
Right.
leadership role. So it came natural to me. So listening to my
Thanks.
to my drill sergeant, that was easy. It
Yeah.
was
Right.
easy.
I also
It's just hard
feel
work and determination.
I also felt that people from the Caribbean, in my
Mm.
experience, I didn't meet too many people from the Caribbean that was in the military that were excelling at whatever their MOS, their job was, whatever their profession was in the military. They were all
Right.
trying to make rank. They were mostly all physically fit,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
playing in a sport,
Mhm.
and trying to be that leader. I never met a Dominican that, especially the Dominicans. Like I had when I was stationed at Fort Eustis. That's where I think I met the most Dominicans,
Mhm.
Mm.
and I had a set. There was a set of twins from Salisbury. Two
Okay.
two young ladies. They were about my age, and I mean, they were in the same unit, and usually they split them up, but they were in the same unit, and they were performing
Right.
like neck and neck. I had another friend that I went to high school with. She showed up later on, and she was a
Right.
super performer. Like most of my friends when I was stationed at Fort Eustis was from the Caribbean. So I had guys from Dominica, Jamaica, St. Kitts, Guyana,
Mhm.
you know, Antigua. There was one guy I met that was an outsider. He was from Cape Verde, but he likes Zouk music, so he he fit right in. But yeah, most Caribbean people that I met, I mean, especially for physical fitness, it was too easy.
Right.
So
And
someone
it
made a
was
comment just now that they were surprised that Kurt enlisted because he was so laid back. Michael explained how he's a chill kind of natured guy. Um, um, Miss Toussaint,
Ramona.
you said that Ramona, you are a quiet, reserved person. People that I know that are also in the military, my family members are also quiet, chilled, laid back people.
Yeah,
It's a demeanor. I think it's something that a natural thing that people have when that the
I
military is
mean,
looking for.
we can like what they say, we can get bucky if we need to, but
Right. Those are the
yeah,
ones.
don't get us
The quiet
mad.
ones are the
we
ones
don't
you
have
don't mess
to,
with.
Don't get us
because
mad.
I,
Right.
Yeah,
I
that
and
is true because like if someone try to talk to me some type of way, I just give them that look and I'll be like,
oh yeah,
first of all, hey, who you think you're talking to?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the first
Yeah.
one out of my mouth. Who do you really think you're talking to?
and like I said, I came in the military when they still could hit people, so
Right.
like it
Mm,
was kind of phasing out, right?
Right.
You know,
Right.
wow.
but yeah, a couple soldiers, because some people will try you and
Yeah.
they'll try and escalate, and
Mhm.
sometimes it goes as far as where you probably need to like put hands on this guy. And
Right.
so, but I'm not that type of person, but I had to do that before, and like my grandmother was the one that was mostly surprised that I joined. She said, so later on when I was like visiting her, when I was in for a while, I was in for like 10 or so years. She just sat back. She had this chill, this smile on her face, and she said, I didn't think you were gonna make it.
Oh,
And
wow.
my
She didn't have to
grandma,
believe. She didn't believe in you.
my grandma did not, she didn't hold her tongue, so she said,
Wow.
I did not
Yeah.
believe you was gonna make it. And she said, but you stayed the longest, because I had uncles and my father, that was and in different branches. And she said, but of all the family members, you stayed the longest. But at
Yeah.
this point, I have two cousins still.
Mhm.
Like one's a sergeant and the other one's a sergeant first class that's in right now. But yeah, she's like, I'm proud of you, but she was like, yeah, I didn't think you was gonna make it, man. 'Cause but it was because I was like that person suggested I was really laid back. It was so bad in basic training, they couldn't get me to march right. Like I used to walk around, at the drill sergeant was like, man, you walking around with a bebop,
Slouchy.
yeah, and it was so bad that they had to put me on, like they put me on kitchen patrol, KP, when we had the drill and ceremony competition, so they had a chance to win because I just couldn't get the marching thing down. But by
Wow.
the time I made it, to primary leadership school, I think you guys call it warrior leadership school now or something.
Basic leadership course.
Like the one for E4 to E5.
Yes, because the word
Yeah.
warrior, they're trying to drive away from the
negative
warrior, the
connotation.
warrior
Oh, okay.
organized basic
Gotcha.
leadership
Yeah.
course, then advanced
Yeah.
leadership course, and senior leadership course. So we could convert it into like the civilian world.
Yeah.
Nobody
So
ain't trying to hire warriors anymore.
yeah, so by the time I got to that point, I could march, and I aced it. When I got to my advanced leadership course, I was this distinguished honor grad.
Nice.
And pretty much what I tried to do was every school I went to, I try to be the best person in the class. I think senior leadership course it didn't happen, but I tried my best because we had some nerds in there. Yeah, it was a great experience. Going to schools was good because you left your unit for a little while, and you got to make some new friends, in your field. So cool too.
Thank you. There's a WhatsApp question. Navi, do you want to address the WhatsApp question?
No, I was actually saying let's go to some of WhatsApp and the YouTube questions.
Yeah. You guys
we
are
can
hot
do
today.
that.
Lots of questions coming in.
One's there now. It says, "What's the worst punishment you ever received, and what? What's the worst punishment you ever received? Oh, and for what?"
I should just do mine first. Because I know it's probably going to be nothing compared to y'all.
I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I came back my second tour, and I had to have a surgery done, elective surgery,
Mhm.
and but it was to help for my back, so I had a reduction.
Okay.
And the doctor had the profile, and told me all these limitations and things that I couldn't do.
Right.
And I was still going to the clinic. I was still seeing soldiers. But my commander decides all of a sudden he wants his PA to be going to every briefing, every training that I don't go to because I'm always in the clinic taking care of soldiers. And I'm explaining to him, I can't be doing, they tell me how somebody walking and blah, 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 I can't do, and he made me go to one briefing. And I remember it was like a storm. In Texas, we get these crazy monsoon type rain things. And I'm in the rain. I still have stitches that are healing. I'm not supposed to be, we're drenched. So we didn't know it was going to rain,
Mhm.
and I was pissed. I was supposed to be on sick leave. And then I went back home. So I guess I missed a few briefings. And He didn't like that. So his punishment, I had to write 2 essays. Yeah, like 2 essays. One was about, it was about like simple things. Like, let me give a quick example, like how to be an obedient soldier. Something like, I had to write 2 essays and then I had to read them in front of him. And I'm sorry.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I thought his punishment was going to be to read them, but he made you read them. So
Yeah.
You said two
Julie,
essays.
you want to grab one?
Question from the viewers.
Media.
There was a question earlier from Michael as to how things are now. I think you explained a little bit about that, because I think we were talking about how things are now in the army, in the military. Sorry.
Well,
we
so how when it comes to that question, how things are now, I would say the military are taking a lot more issues that they maybe kind of ignored back in the days more serious. You know, like Ramona said, the PTSD. You know, it took her like 10 years to get diagnosed. They are actually taking that more serious, because I have soldiers under me that are going through their counseling, their medication, and because you see a lot of these army vets like homeless, right, and all that stuff. It'd be like, how can an army vet be homeless? But because they are suffering from PTSD, I guess back in the days they will just like kick them out or whatever. So they're actually taking that more serious. So I'll give them that. Also, suicide prevention is another hot topic with the military. Suicide rate is very high, whether you're a combat vet or from the veterans to those who are still serving, and it's pretty sad that someone that you served with, when you look, man, they took their own life, so they survived all these wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, and they survived, and they take their own life because they couldn't cope with the life stresses, all the issues they're going through. Some of them can't sleep at night. Some of them tend to alcohol. So there's one soldier who was very close to. He told me like, man, I can't go to sleep sober, man. Like, how do you do it? I was like, man, I do it every night because I do it. But he cannot go to sleep sober because, every time he closes his eyes, he's like, all what he was going through is just running through his mind. You understand? It's like you see somebody today and it's like they take their life tomorrow, man. That's very sad. So we're doing all these suicide prevention classes and, where to get the counselings and the 24-hour suicide hotline. So they are taking that very seriously, the equal opportunities very seriously, where you just cannot escape, man. You discriminate against anybody, they will end your career, brother. I tell you, they will end your career. And it's just basically life. I think they are doing better with their family life too, because you will get deployed for like 15 months. So it went from 15 months, which was a very long time, separating you from your family. Went down to 12 months, and now usually when you go overseas, it's like a 9-month rotation. So they cut it down, So because you remember your family serves with you, right? Because when you are not there, your family is the one that have to take care of the household and all that stuff, and just be away from each other for all that time. Remember, you're gonna miss anniversaries, you're gonna miss birthdays, you're gonna miss births, you're gonna miss everything, because I swear, like after my daughter was born, the superstar you've been seeing back and after she was born, I think like 5 months later, she was just 5 months, and I went overseas for 12 months, so I missed her first birthday.
Okay.
But I mean, I signed up, so what can I say? I can't say
that's
because I'm gonna miss my I missed her birthday. And I got a 1-year-old, which I just missed her birthday also because I was out on the training, and I recently came back. I recently came
Yeah.
back from that training, so I missed her birthday. So I missed both of my daughters' first birthdays, you know.
Wow.
And there's anniversaries that I miss, but you know, they understand. So you have to teach your family like, hey, this is what I signed up for, this is what I'm doing. But the
Hmm.
military is getting better in giving back your time, you know, where you could
Your time,
spend it
right?
with your family and so forth. Like even on holidays, you know, like when there's a national holiday or federal holiday, instead of getting that one day, that day off, you get 4 days off. You get from the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that Monday off. So it's just more time
Right.
to spend with your family. I think that's the major changes, and you know, they actually into education because
Right.
like I mean, other than what's going on in Ukraine, there's not much war going on. So you have to educate yourself, you know, and you have to free yourself from that mental slavery that hey, we're just gonna use that weapon and fire back at people. You know, you have to.
Right.
Right now, it's technology. It's technology.
Hmm.
So you have to advance yourself, and that's the talent management we are dealing with right now. Yeah, you got to hit
Okay.
those books. You got to separate yourself from the others. You know, you got to be smarter. And Caribbean people are hardworking people. I
Facts.
mean, we are hardworking people.
So,
We will thrive
Yeah.
into anything we do. We're going to be the best in anything we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
truth.
True.
Truth. So we're gonna take our last question, and it's a voice note, right, Joel?
Yes.
And I believe we have that voice note ready. No.
No.
Because they're afraid they would not get the job or jobs that they wanted for promotional. Most people don't report their PTSD because sometimes they think it's going to affect their clearance. And in many cases, some of my brethren, we were in the 82nd, and a lot of people I know that had it in there, they would be scared to do it because they're afraid they would not get the job or jobs that they wanted for promotional concerns.
So I take it that's probably a vet himself speaking, or somebody that take part in the military. So
Thank you for
all
that
right.
voice note. I think they were trying to reiterate the fact that you should. So a lot of people don't want to admit that they have PTSD because they don't want to be looked upon in a negative light. I think that's what he was trying to
He's trying.
explain. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Navi,
Huge training.
we had a lot of fun tonight with everyone on the panel. Like, there's so much more
We
to talk
did.
about.
We
Yeah.
did. I
Yeah.
know. Like, you
You
know,
can invite us back.
oh
Okay.
yeah, for
All right.
sure, for sure, for sure. I would like definitely. You know what? You guys are definitely welcome back anytime. Season 3, we'll talk the details and stuff, because I know there's so much more to say, and there's
So
so
much
many
more.
more
Yeah.
questions that we did not
Yeah.
get to at all. All right, and there's a lot of people that was putting up questions that you know, and we went over a time limit, but it's all good. So you guys are definitely welcome. Anytime, anytime. All right. So I don't know if you guys want to say any last things to encourage people, or say hi to your family, or if people want to follow you on Instagram, whatever your goodbyes are.
Yeah.
Let's start with the lady, and we'll work over. But the lady, you actually coming back here? Not next week. I believe the week after. You're coming back right here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I'll be back in 2 weeks,
you got
guys.
some, you got some proper things we need to talk about, right?
All
A
right.
little proper things. Little.
You got some proper things. All right, so we'll start with you. Anybody you want to shout out or encourage, or the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Shout out to the Toussaint fam, Toussaint Legacy, and the Myler family. That's my mother's side, Bernadette Myler. Um, Shout out Roseau, Point Michelle, um,
Mm.
and definitely it's okay not to be okay. If there is any active soldier or veteran watching this right now, and you know that you haven't been sleeping right, or you just feel like something's not right, your mind's wandering, you're thinking, am I crazy? You're not the only one. It's okay not to be okay. And like Mike was saying, there's the suicide hotline, that's also a counseling hotline as well, 24/7. The VA will take care of you. Their help is there. So that's what I want to say.
Thank you.
All right. Mike?
All right, so I just want to say thanks to you, the Dissect family, for actually inviting us to your show. I want to say thanks to the Most High for giving me the health and strength for being here. Thanks to my wife, Tamisha Casimir, my daughters, Jayunik, and Janaya. Thanks to my mother and my father, Silka Walsh and Michael Casimir. So every name I call there is that's my backbone, that's my rocks. They are the one that actually push me, and keep me going. Thanks to all the Pottersville community, Lower Goodwill, Libla Lane, Rawls Lane, DJ Lane. Hey, that's my home right there, brother. And thanks to everybody, all the viewers. We cannot forget the viewers from Nigel. I'm seeing Markel on, my mom is on, everybody, man. Just thanks to everybody, and I appreciate the fine gesture that you gave to us, the retired and the active serving members. Thanks.
Of course. Most welcome. Kurt?
Yes. First off, I would like to thank Michael for thinking of me when he had that opportunity. He actually called me in the car. I was heading to my brother's house, and he was like, man, this guy, he hit me up and wanted to do an interview, and he said, I thought about you, you'd be the perfect person for it. So, it was, a great opportunity to share some of my stories that, of my time in the military. I would like to shout out to my parents, my dad, Ellison Alexander, and on my mother's side, Theodore Hamlet. Shout out to the Alexander family, the George family. Most of them are in America now, but the Funkley side, Portersville, same place that I grew up going to high school. And I will never forget my people from Marigot. Hopefully some of them are listening or checking it out tonight. And all my friends and families over here that supported me during my career.
Nice. All right.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us. Incredible stories. We have to do this again. We have to do this.
Yeah, have to do it again.
We should.
Yeah.
Yeah, had fun.
Normally just hit me up. Yeah, I'll organize everybody, man. We'll come through.
All right.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there was a lady, I can't remember her name right now, but she was active on the line. And I think she's in the military.
That's my girl, Pizza.
Petra.
Okay,
Pizza.
Pizza.
All right, there she is. All right, so we'll work out the things. All right, so we'll balance it. We'll have two females. Try to have two females and two males, and well, not including you, Jules. My bad. All right, so this has been another episode of Dissect. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for viewing. Thank you guys for sharing the vibes. Do follow Islands Therapy and TDN Network 1 on YouTube. Follow TDN TV on Facebook and follow Islands Therapy on Facebook as well. Subscribe to the channels. Spread this to your friends. Good story tonight. Stay tuned for the video for next week's guest right here on TDN. We'll see you guys next week. Have a blessed weekend and a blessed week.
Bye.
What's up, guys? This is Sadiq from Connect 767. You could check me out on Dissect Saturday, March 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come on, let's dissect the thing, man.